Good evening, everyone. I hope you are doing well. We are going to explain together Chapter 9 of Wuthering Heights. Please pay attention to every word that is said because Chapter 9 is very emotional and very intense. It is full of emotions. Even though it is only their one conversation between Nellie and Catherine, yet this conversation, it holds many essential and important themes, points, and things. Now, I made again a PowerPoint for you, PPT. You can find it there in your channel. I'll send it to you, and it has about 20 to 19 slides. If you would like, you can write down notes, though this is all found in your study guide. Now, let's go to slide 2. Chapter 9 is one of the most important and emotional chapters in the novel. It is full of drama, danger, and the start of a tragedy. Okay, again, we said it's a very important chapter because it has lots of drama, danger, and it's the start of the tragedy. Hindley, we witnessed the change of Hindley that happened after the death of his wife. He is now completely drunk. One day, being completely drunk and morally declined, he doesn't even recognize his own son, اللي هو Harriton. And he even threatens Nellie Dean with a knife by pointing or putting the knife in between her lips or teeth. So Hindley now, he is desperate. He is a damaged, broken man. He almost kills his young son Harriton by dropping him over the stairs. Who is there to save Harriton? Heathcliff. Heathcliff quickly intervenes and saves the boy. Now, in the book, the quote that describes this, or the words that Nellie describes the scene or the event, she goes like to say, Heathcliff arrived underneath just as the critical moment. And by what? By a natural impulse. So, حركة لا إرادية إنه جسم يشبه immediately went in and saved the boy. He arrested his descent and setting him on his feet, looked up to discover the author of the accident. So, when he saved Harriton, he did not know who dropped Harriton. And then after saving Harriton, he looked up and he saw, oh, it was Hindley. So why did Heathcliff save Harriton? This was a perfect chance for Heathcliff to have his revenge, right? This is the perfect chance to have his revenge because, Nellie, I'm trying to settle down how I will pay Hindley back. It expressed plainer than words could do the intense anguish at having made himself the instrument of stopping his own revenge, thwarting his own revenge, which means he felt the deepest and saddest anguish, sorrow, because he became the instrument by which he stopped his own revenge. Had it been dark, I dare say, this is Nellie, he would have tried to remedy the mistake by smashing Harriton's skull on the steps. But we witnessed his salvation. Nellie Dean says, if it was dark, we could have seen that Heathcliff would. Yeah, and he tried to correct his mistake by smashing Harriton's skull on the steps. Like in here, we saw Heathcliff's salvation. Does it say, can we say that Heathcliff here has some kind of care within him? Even though he is a man full of, or becoming bitter and full of anger? I would personally say yes. I don't know. I feel like, this is something not, or anyone would do. This is a child, an innocent one. And you go and see a child dropping from the stairs. So what would you do? You would immediately go and save the child because the child is innocent. And الطفل ما له دخل بالأخطاء, the mistakes of everyone else around them. Now, let's go to slide 3. Nellie was rocking Harriton on her knee and humming a song when Catherine came inside to talk to her. So this is the beginning of the conversation, which is very much essential between Nellie and Catherine. Catherine tells Nellie that she's very unhappy. Why? This is the first question. And she wants to share a secret. What is that secret? This is the second question. Now, she tells Nellie that Edgar Linton has asked her to marry him, and she wants Nellie's advice on whether to say yes or no. Again, as I've told you in class, please read every single line from the conversation ما بين Catherine and Nellie. We managed قدرنا نقراها بقاعة I believe B and A from the morning study, but we couldn't do it with the rest of the other classes. So, the beginning of the conversation here goes, Catherine is unhappy, she wants to share a secret. She explains that Edgar has asked to marry her. And she wants Nellie advice on whether she should say yes or no. Now, put in your mind, she has already accepted the proposal. Like she came over to Nellie because she wanted to hear whether her decision was right or wrong, even though within her she knows it is wrong. Okay, when you do something wrong, when you do make a mistake, what do? You go to close friend, your family and such to hear what they're going to say, to tell you that it's okay, you made the right decision and such. Now, Nellie tries to reason with her, asking if she really loves Edgar and why. Catherine insists that she does love him, but she struggles to explain exactly why. In almost all of the lines that you read when it comes to Catherine's emotions or feelings towards Edgar, they're very superficial. They're very materialistic, all about يعني كلها مجرد مشاعر. I would not even call it feelings. كلها مجرد حب مادي. He's handsome, he's كذا, he's rich, This is not love. And when you go to read the language of Catherine to Heathcliff, you would see that it's so poetic. I feel like this is the writer, and she was also clever in doing this. The language that she used with Heathcliff is so poetic, so beautiful, so emotionally deep. Like when she comes to describe the way she loves Edgar, it is very superficial and shallow, to be honest. Now, Catherine insists that she does love him, but she struggles to explain why. Catherine tells Nellie, why did she marry Edgar? Now we ask, why did she marry Edgar? Well, he's handsome, cheerful, loves her, and is rich. So what does Nellie say? She tells her that those reasons are very strong or lasting because money goes away, handsomeness goes away, love يعني here I know again I don't see her really falling or loving Edgar. Now Nellie points out that these reasons are not strong or lasting, and I do agree with Nellie. Catherine insists that she truly loves him, saying that she loves everything about him. Here on slide 4, let's read the quote together. I love the ground under his feet. I love the air over his head and everything he touches and every word he says. I love all his looks and all his actions and him entirely and all together. There now. Nellie challenges her. She asks, now notice what Nellie says, asking what would stop her from loving someone else who is richer or more handsome, and warns that Edgar's looks, youth and wealth, they won't last forever. يعني تقول لها هنا إنه العالم it's full of people who are more handsome, richer, younger, and such. What will stop you from loving them? يعني شنو اللي راح يمنعك إنه أنت ما راح تحبيهم أكثر من حبك إلى إدغار. Now on slide 4, and he will be rich, and I like to be the greatest woman of the neighborhood, and I shall be proud of having such a husband. To which all of these, she tells her bad, because these things, they're not, they're not a measure for how much you love a person. There now. You wanted me to tell you why I love Edgar. So yeah, Nelly, these are the reasons of why I love Edgar. On slide 5, Catherine insists that she only thinks about the present and decides she will marry Edgar, but she feels there is something is wrong deep within her heart and soul. What does she do? So Nelly Inanna on slide 6 She tells her, that's perfectly right. If people are be right to marry only for the present, now let us hear what you are unhappy about. Exactly. If you care about the present, you do not care about the future and what goes on in the future 50, 40 years from now. Let's hear, what is the obstacle? What are you unhappy about? أولا, your brother will be pleased. Handly. The old lady and gentleman will not object. Mr. and Mrs. Linton will not say no. I think, and you will escape from a disorderly, comfortless home into a wealthy, respectable one. Tamam. You will go from a very violent, comfortless home into one that is wealthy, rich, and respectable. You love Edgar, and Edgar loves you. This is all smooth and easy. So what is the obstacle? وين العائق هنا؟ What is wrong? I feel like I am talking to Catherine, telling her all of those things. It's very beautiful the way Nellie talks to Catherine. So, Catherine what? She strikes herself, this is on slide 5, she strikes herself on the head and chest, revealing her inner conflict. She turns to Nellie. She tells her, she puts her hand on her head and one hand on her heart. And what does she say? Here and here. In whichever place the soul lives, in my soul and in my heart, I am what? I am convinced I am wrong. يعني بقلبي وبعقلي وبروحي بأي مكان بي الروح إيش بي أني I am wrong. Okay, this is one of the questions that I believe I asked last year to my students. Where does the soul lie? Where is the soul? Is the soul in your mind or is the soul in your heart? Where is it? Or is the soul an accumulation of feelings that you have, and those feelings combined together form the soul or the spirit, so they say. So she's a troubled Catherine here on slide 5. She turns to Nellie to share a secret. She's troubled by strange, powerful dreams that have affected her deeply before. She trusts Nellie to listen without mocking, without laughing, and she wants to tell her about a dream that she had, hoping that dream will help her express why she feels uneasy, even though everything seems perfect on the outside. Everything is okay. So why are you like this, Catherine? Now, we go to slide 7. What is that dream? Catherine tells Nellie that I've dreamt in my life dreams that have changed me. يعني حلمت أحلام غيرتني. هاي الأحلام غيرتني the way wine مثل ما النبيذ يغير الماء. The way wine would change water. And so she tells her, I want to tell you that dream because I feel that dream is important. I feel that dream describes so much of the uneasy feeling that I'm having within. So, we go to slide 7. Catherine shares more of her untroubling feelings with Nellie, describing a dream where heaven felt wrong for her and she longed to return to earth. She explains that marrying Edgar would feel as unnatural as being in heaven, because her true connection is where? With Heathcliff. Why? He is like a part of her own soul. She says she cannot marry Heathcliff now, not because she doesn't love him, but because it would degrade her in society's eyes. Nellie notices Heathcliff secretly listening, and he quietly leaves after hearing Catherine say she cannot marry him. Catherine goes to Nellie to confess her deepest, most secret emotions, her love for Heathcliff, even though society and appearances force her toward Edgar. Now, so much is said in one slide. So, Catherine tells the dream she had about the earth and the heaven. What is that dream? And what does the earth symbolize and the heavens symbolize? And why did Catherine focus on this dream? Let's go to slide 8 and read it together. يعني تتكلم عن هذا الحلم، تقلها بأنه هذا الحلم مهم. ليش مهم؟ خلي نعرف. بسلايد 8. I've dreamt in my life dreams that have stayed with me ever after and changed my ideas. They have gone through and through me, like wine through water, and altered the color of my mind. And this is one I'm going to tell it. But take care not to smile at any part of it. Ya Nelly, I'm going to tell you a dream. This dream is very important because it changed my ideas and it stayed with me and it changed the color of my mind. So I'm going to tell you that dream, Ya Nelly, and I do not want you to smile at that dream or any part of it. What is that dream? شنو هذا الحلم؟ خلينا نقرأ سوية. I was only going to say that heaven did not seem to be my home, and I broke my heart with weeping to come back to earth. And the angels were so angry that they flung me out into the middle of the heath on the top of Wuthering Heights, where I woke up sobbing for joy. I was in the heavens. I was there in the heavens. Heaven was so perfect for everyone else. Heaven was a feeling, beauty for everyone else. But I felt that I did not belong to heaven. And heaven was not my home. And so I kept crying. My heart broke with crying, weeping. Because I wanted to go back where? To the earth. Because the earth is my home. The angels, they were so angry, they kicked me out of the heaven. And what did they put me? When خلوني? Into the middle of the heath on top of Wuthering Heights, where I what? Where my heart woke, sobbing, crying for joy. Now, heaven is Edgar, Thrushcross Grange. The angels are the society, المجتمع. And the earth is Heathcliff, or Wuthering Heights. Do you remember when I told you before? Heathcliff said, yes, شبيها Thrushcross Grange. It was so beautiful, like heaven. Like, I would never change my life for 1,000 conditions or anything there. Why? Because for Heathcliff, home is not a place. It is a person. And the person who dearly and most heartily lives in Wuthering Heights is whom? Is Catherine. And so that's why Wuthering Heights feels like a home to Heathcliff, to Catherine, because it is the place where they spend most of their precious, beautiful, heartly feelings or time there. It's such a beautiful dream, to be honest, because it shows everyone else around you thinks that you are going to adjust, thinks that you are going to adapt and love that place. Yet, no. It may be perfect and maybe everything holds there, لكن it is not my place. Yes, هي كل شيء إلك، بيها كل شيء، بيها يعني إشكال اللي تريده، لكن it is not for me، لكن هي مو إلي. منو اللي إلي؟ Wuthering Heights. Now, as I'm reading those lines, I remember rewatching a film اللي هو The Bride Wore Red. As I'm reading, I'm reminded so much because the film fully describes everything part of this conversation. I remember recommending or telling a group A, a morning study, of how I watched that film اللي تقريبا الساعة 12 وواحدة, and I wanted to finish it but I was too sleepy and I had work the next day, so I stopped like in the middle and I was like, how is this going to end? It is such a beautiful film. I believe it was in 1937 1937, which talks about this girl who's called Annie. She's a nightclub singer. She lives a life of poverty. However, one night or one day, a wealthy man, aristocrat, I don't remember his name, But what he does is he decides to prove his theory that social class or social position is just a matter of luck. So what does he do? He picks Annie, he sends her to this place for 2 weeks. He dresses her up completely like a lady with money and such, because he wanted her to spend that time as a person of the upper class. So Annie there, she meets this person too, actually. One who is a gentleman. He's called, I'm not sure, Rudy Pal, since I've rewatched it yesterday. And the other one, who is a postman, she starts to have such beautiful, genuine feelings for him. So the first one is rich, obviously. The second one is poor, yet he is contented and satisfied with the way he is living. He's a humble postman. So she struggles. Where would she go? How would she be? And such. So here the dream actually reminded me of the character, the postman. إنه everything around him, or people like they have their own heaven. And they think that the place where he's at, the place where he's living, the job he has is what? Is humble, poor, and the earth, let's say. But he wants to be there. He loves his way of living. Okay? So I really do highly recommend you watch the film because it's so beautiful. Especially the dialogues, الحوارات بين الشخصيات. Now, let's go back. Where were we? Yes. We talked about the dream. The earth is Heathcliff. The heaven is Edgar. The angels, let's say, the society. Now, Catherine here, she explains that she cannot marry Heathcliff. Why? Because it would degrade me to marry Heathcliff. يقلل من شأني إنه أتزوج Heathcliff. Now you might ask why. She loves him, so why would she do that? Because for women, or as a woman living in that time, money or wealth, a rich man meant the whole world or life. لأنه he will take me, again as Nelly said, from a comfortless, disorderly house into a rich, respectable one. Okay, so you have to understand, Catherine, even though what she did might seem wrong or selfish, لكن you have to also understand why she made that decision. It would degrade me to marry Heathcliff now, so he shall never know how I love him, and that not because he's handsome, ya Nelly. I do not love Heathcliff because he's handsome, but because he is more myself than I am. Whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same, and Linton is as different as a moonbeam from lightning or a frost from fire. Catherine here is saying that the connection she has with Heathcliff, it is not just a normal love. It is something spiritual and eternal, something that lies deep within the spirit. So when she says, whatever our souls are made of, his and mine are the same, she means that they share the same essence, which means they understand each other, they belong together on a very deep level, let's say. However, Edgar is as different as a moonbeam from lightning, تمام? A frost from fire. Edgar مختلف مثل المونbeam from lightning and the frost from fire. Why? Because the moonbeam is gentle, calm, okay? The frost is cold. So Edgar is gentle, calm, yes, beautiful, rich, لكن he is also like a frost. He is cold, okay? بينما Heathcliff Ishbi and Catherine together, they're lightning, they're fire, they're fierce, wild, and passionate, like lightning and fire. So the love she holds for Heathcliff, it is a love that defies social class and reason. Okay, now let's go on to the next slide. After Heathcliff, we forgot to mention this, or we did mention this, but let's explain it together. So here Heathcliff, he hears the part يعني يسمع الحد جزء it would degrade me to marry Heathcliff. يعني المسكين والمسكينة ما سمع الكلام اللي بعده. He did not hear the part that says what does it say on slide 7? He shall never know how I love him. And not because he's handsome, Nelly. No, because and such and such. Those words Heathcliff unfortunately did not hear them. ما سمعهن للأسف. Now, in here, Nelly notices, لكن she doesn't tell Catherine. Please put this in your mind. Why doesn't Nelly Dean tell Catherine that Heathcliff was listening? So, Heathcliff quietly leaves after hearing the conversation that she cannot marry him. After Heathcliff secretly leaves, Catherine doesn't realize that he heard her words. She then explains that even if she marries Edgar, she will never stop caring for Heathcliff and won't let anyone separate them. She insists that Edgar will learn, which is it cannot happen. يعني مستحيل إنه أنتي تتزوجين شخص وتردين هذا الشخص نفسه إنه يتقبل وجود your ex-lover, the person you loved before and you still have feelings for. So what does she say? She insists بأنه Edgar will learn to accept Heathcliff once he understands her feelings. Catherine argues that by marrying Edgar, she can help Heathcliff escape poverty and her brother Hindley's cruelty. So, Nana Catherine, she tells Nelly that no one is able to separate us. No one will ever separate me from Heathcliff. She goes on to say that by marrying Edgar, I will help Heathcliff. Okay? I will help him escape poverty and also from her brother's cruelty, اللي هو Hindley. Again, Nelly, like us readers, she disapproves and says using her husband's money for that is wrong. Catherine turns to Nelly because she wants someone to understand her mixed feelings. She's conflicted, she's stressed, she's in a dilemma. Her love for Heathcliff and her wish to marry Edgar for a better life. Now, let's go to slide 10. I like to give you the note and afterwards, just like we do in class, you explain and then we go to the quote, read the quote, and then I explain or we explain all together again. So, on slide 10, he quite deserted. We separated. Who is to separate us, Nelly? من اللي راح يفرقنا يا Nelly? They will meet the fate of Milo. Not as long as I live, for no mortal creature. Every lantern on the face of the earth might melt into nothing before I could consent to forsake, to leave Heathcliff. Who is this Milo person? Now, what does Catherine شو تقول لها هنا؟ أي شخص يحاول يفرق بيني وبين هيثكليف راح يلاقي مثل مصير هذا الشخص اللي هو Milo. Who is that person? Now, Milo was a famous Greek wrestler. One day, he was very famous in the Greek old times. He tried to split or lift a tree with his hands. However, there was a wedge that slipped out and the tree trapped him. His hand was stuck inside the tree. He tried to take away his hand from the tree because it was stuck, but it was stuck and helpless. So, what happened to this person, Milo? He was later eaten by the wolves and lions للأسف. يعني بالنهاية إذا بما أنه هي علقت بداخل الشجرة بالنهاية جت الذئاب والأسود. They ate him. Catherine here is saying again, anyone who tries to separate me from Heathcliff will have the same fate, will suffer the same fate, torn apart like this person. Now, there is also another interpretation for it, and so the critics say بأنه this idea that you're stuck in between two something, it just shows, again, we also explained this actually. You know, the characters, they feel trapped within between two choices or forces, unable to escape, like that person, Milo, and exactly like Catherine. She's trapped, she's torn between two choices, and she cannot escape. Okay? Nelly, I see now. You think of me as a selfish wretch, but did it never strike your mind that يعني ما جاب بالك يا نيلي بأنه أنا وهيثكليف إذا نتزوج إيش بينا راح نكون متسولين بالشارع، بينما إذا أنا أتزوج لينتون إيش بيه أنا راح أساعد هيثكليف وراح أخليه يكون غني، وهم يعني إيش راح أخليه إنه ما يعاني من أخويا. Let me ask you this question. Do you believe this is true? No. For me personally, I believe no man would accept this. But did it never strike you that if Heathcliff and I married, we should be beggars, out in the streets begging for money and food? Bainama, whereas, if I marry Linton, I can aid Heathcliff to rise, to be rich, to be a king, and place him out of my brother's power. Now, we go to slide 12. Catherine here explains to Nelly that her love for Heathcliff is deeper, is more essential than her love for Edgar, which is true. We established that. She says Heathcliff is part of her very being, like the eternal rocks. Now we come to the comparison between the two loves. Just now we used, which slide? We used the moonbeam, the frost, the fire, and the lightning, which is on slide 8. And now on slide 12, 12 and 13 actually, she is going to what? To talk about the leaves and the rocks. So, she explains that, again, as we established, her love is deeper, essential, and such. She says that Heathcliff is part of her very being, like eternal rocks, while her feelings for Edgar are like the changing foliage, the leaves, temporary and superficial. Now, do you notice here, at the beginning of the conversation, she was like, I love Edgar, I love the air he breathes, I love the ground on her feet. And now she goes on to say, what? My love is temporary, it is superficial. Again, it shows what? She doesn't really love him. Now, Catherine insists that separation is impossible. So, what does Nelly here say? She tells her she is being foolish, and she doesn't understand the responsibilities of marriage, which is true. Once you decide that you are going to marry Edgar, that's it. هذا هو. You cannot talk about the person you loved before. It is done, يعني. You chose that person, that's it. Lakin because she is conflicted, because she is stressed here, what is going on? She is pouring everything that is in her heart. يعني جاي تطلع كل اللي بقلبها to Nelly. Now, Catherine begs Nelly to keep her secret, but Nelly refuses. So, where does the conversation end? It ends when Joseph arrives and Catherine quietly moves away, caring for Hareton, while Nelly prepares dinner. Catherine confides in Nelly because she needs someone to hear the truth about her heart, even though it goes against social expectations. So بالضبط, this is why we said it at the beginning. يعني you need someone to tell you the truth. إنه يقول لك الحقيقة. هل يا ترى أنت القرار اللي اتخذته صحيح؟ لو لا. What were the use of my creation if I were entirely contained here? My great miseries in this world have been Heathcliff's miseries, and I watched and felt each from the beginning. My great thought in living is Heathcliff, is himself. If all perished and he remained, I should still continue to be. And if all else remained and he were annihilated, the universe would turn to a mighty stranger. I should not seem a part of it. My love for Linton is like the foliage in the woods. Time will change it, I am well aware. Like winter changes the trees. My love for Heathcliff resembles the eternal rocks beneath, a source of little visible delight, but necessary. Nelly, I am Heathcliff. He's always, always in my mind, not as a pleasure, any more than I am always a pleasure to myself, but as my own being. So, Nelly, do not talk of our separation again. It is impracticable, and here the lines stop. Now, how does Catherine compare ما بين her love for Heathcliff and her love for Edgar? So, when Catherine says, "What were the use of my creation, of myself, if I were just contained here?" So, she means here that her life would, would have no meaning if it were limited to this certain life, to her current situation, her home, her social circle, the marriage prospects, and such. So, what is the use of my creation if I am contained and imprisoned here? She feels that, in a way, her soul is much bigger than that, and it is bound to Heathcliff in a way that the society cannot understand, and that bound to Heathcliff in a way that defines and shows and fully, explains her own being. She goes on to say, "My great thought in living is Heathcliff. All my suffering, they mirror Heathcliff's, which means his pain is my pain. His happiness is my happiness. So Heathcliff is the core reason why she lives. Heathcliff gives meaning to what? To her existence. And كأنما without Heathcliff, she cannot be. That is why she says, Nelly, I am Heathcliff. Because they are not two separate people. Again, we explained Plato with class, I believe, A. I'm going to explain it later on. So, we are not two separate people, but we are one soul in two bodies. Loving him, it's not just, it's not just a joy or those beautiful, sweet, romantic moments. No, it's more like about identity. لأنه she literally feels that she is part of him and he is part of her. And the separation here, it would destroy the sense of self. Do you see how language here is poetic and beautiful? My love for Edgar, Nelly, is like the leaves on the trees, the foliage. It is a pretty, it is a pleasant, he's rich, handsome, such and such, like in what? That kind of love is temporary, superficial, and it is something that will change and fade with time. Like in my love for Heathcliff is like the rocks beneath. It is not just a beautiful, not just a soft, let's say. It is eternal, strong, and essential, and important, and a core thing to her life's foundation. I lean on Heathcliff. That is why, Nelly, I am Heathcliff. So they're made of the same soul, and that he lives inside her mind, he lives inside her heart all the time. And the bond that they have for one another, it is not just something that can be broken or explained by normal love. Again, as we said, you feel that the bond between them, it is a connection that truly defines who she is. Now, we go to slide 14. In some of the books or in some of the research papers, they say that the rock here is is a biblical reference to Peter the rock, to Petros. In the Bible, Jesus told Peter, and I tell you, you are Peter. And upon this rock I will build my church, and the powers of death shall not prevail against it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. So Peter and his brother Andrew, they were fishermen. They were the first disciples to follow Jesus, the followers of Jesus. In Matthew 16:18, the rock here, they say that refers to Peter. The rock here, it refers to Peter. Jesus, he needed the church to continue guiding people, to continue to spreading his message to the world of peace, love, and worshiping God and such, teaching them and protecting them, us, from sin. So Peter here, he was the foundation of the church, and he was responsible for leading and holding the keys to God's kingdom. In a way, let's say, Jesus here relied on whom? On Peter. So Peter was more like the foundation that held the keys. So Emily here, she is using this idea to show that Catherine here relies not on or stands not on Christ or the church but on Heathcliff. يعني كأنما استغفر الله بأنه Heathcliff is her God or her religion. He worships Heathcliff. يعني هي تعبد Heathcliff. This is not healthy, to be honest. This is obsession. It is an unhealthy one when you think of it. Yes, it is love. Yes, it is beautiful. Like when it reaches this point, it is consuming. It's consuming everything within you. So Heathcliff becomes her foundation, her guide, her Christ figure, what? Clothed in immortality. He is her whole being. That is why she says, Nelly, I am Heathcliff. She means that she doesn't need anyone else, nor God, nor religion, but Heathcliff. Heathcliff is what? Heathcliff is enough for her, because he holds the keys to her kingdom, to her heaven, because he is her whole world and carries her heart in his hands. And so, every part of her is alive because of Minnow, because of Heathcliff. That is why she said on slide 13, my great thought in living is himself. If all perished and he remained, I should still continue to be. يعني إذا كل شيء اختفى وفقط هو يبقى, that's it. I shall continue to be. لكن if everything else remained and Heathcliff were annihilated, gone, the universe would be a stranger to me. لكن كل شيء يبقى, بس Heathcliff يختفي, شبيه العالم راح يكون أشبه بالقوة الغريبة إلي, a mighty stranger, where I would feel that I am lost. And so, if he was gone, slide 15, the whole world would feel like a mighty stranger to her. We go to slide 16. When we said here, when she says, Nelly, I am Heathcliff. What is this? Two souls, one soul in one body. In Plato's Symposium, there were a group of philosophers who gathered around to talk about love. Each one defined love, each one gave a speech, each one defined love in their own way. Each one gave their view about what love is. The most famous one is told by Aristophanes, which goes, a myth here. Long time ago, I showed the students on a group A, the morning study. We watched this video from the Italian series, المسلسل الإيطالي, where the professor, the school teacher, explains this myth. It's very beautiful. Now, long ago, humans were not like we are now. How? They were round beings with 4 arms, يعني كأنما كرة, let's say, with 4 arms, 4 legs, and 2 faces. They were powerful. They were united. They were one. And so, the gods feared them. So what Zeus did is he split them up in halves to weaken them. The gods did not like them. So the gods, what? They split them up in halves. Ever since the split, what happened, or the separation, is that each half wanders the world, searching for its missing other. And the moment when you find, or when we found one another, when the 2 halves reunite, is the deepest form of love. I remember in the Italian, when the teacher goes, because it is amore, because that being is love. It is not just attraction or pleasure, but it is like saying, you are my other self. That is why she says, I am Heathcliff. He is my own being. I like to recall the words that I read from a very beautiful book. I believe it was last year or before that, by Rilke. Now, in his book, Letters to a Young Poet, which is like a collection of letters he wrote to this young man who sought advice about life, love, art, and such. So in the quote, which is on slide 18, he talks about what is marriage, the point of marriage. And he goes on to say that a merging of two people is an impossibility. And where it seems to exist, it is in a hemming in. Once the realization accepted that even between the closest people, infinite distances exist, a marvelous living side by side can grow up for them, which means he talks about what real love and marriage should be. It is not about becoming, like Catherine said here, one person or losing yourself in another. No, it is not saying I am, he's my whole being. No, to Rilke, this is not how it is. And instead, to Rilke, each person or each individual should protect or should cherish the other's individuality. The thoughts, let's say the dreams, the space, and such and such. لأنه to him, a good healthy relationship, it sort of happens when people stand side by side as what? As complete individuals. Not giving up your whole identity, just like Catherine said. I recall in one of his quotes, he said, "Therefore, dear sir, love your solitude and try to sing out the pain it causes you." And this is something I think I told you in class, بأنه I wish it did not happen for both Catherine and Heathcliff. Yes, you love the person, but you don't emotionally and wholly and completely become dependent on them to the point where you start to abandon and lose yourself. No, this is not right. Now, we go to slide 19. Heathcliff here, he overhears some of Catherine's words while hiding nearby. Nellie Dean knows he is there, but she doesn't warn Catherine. She keeps again, as we said, this information to herself, letting Heathcliff hear everything. And this makes us question things. Is Nellie here a reliable or unreliable narrator? Can we fully trust her on account of the events, or is she giving us the story the way she chooses, what she chooses to reveal or hide? Heathcliff hears that Catherine thinks marrying him would degrade her, and he leaves quietly, feeling heartbroken and furious, angry. And thus the heart will break. These are the words of the final that Guillermo del Toro chose in his Frankenstein, which is so beautiful. I hope you all watched it by now. Thus the heart will break, yet brokenly it will live on. And this is the way, the words by Lord Byron, which is true for Heathcliff and even Catherine. Their hearts will break, yet brokenly they will live on. Now, Heathcliff does not hear the last words in which she says she wants to help him, she wants to be with him and such. And this is the moment when Heathcliff's obsession begins, and his desire for revenge, it grows more and more, because social class and pride, they start to destroy all the hope of their love. Catherine finds out that Heathcliff was gone. She runs out into a violent storm. She becomes completely wet, and she sits outside all night, feverish and troubled. This is a good example of how Emily Bronte reveals or uses nature to reflect or mirror the human feelings. In the morning, Catherine becomes ill with a brain fever or with fever. And again, the storm or the nature here reflects the emotions of the characters. The storm here also foreshadows the death of Mr. and Mrs. Linton. They later die in similar conditions. Unlike Mr. and Mrs. Linton, again, this is, I believe, it's all in your study guide. Catherine recovers. 3 years later, Catherine and Edgar are married. Nellie Dean and the couple, they go to Thrushcross Grange. So, Catherine's divided heart and Heathcliff's deep attachment show that love can be life-giving, but what? Also destructive. Love is beautiful, but love is also destructive. Love is not gentle or soft. It can be painful, obsessive, and a part of who you are. So, I hope here you have carefully listened to everything that we explained, and everything became clear to you. It is not very difficult, really, once you feel and try to understand everything that the characters feel, because everything that Catherine said here, yes, it was emotional, but I want you to try to understand her, because in the end, she is just a soul that was suffering, that was in a dilemma. And the same for Heathcliff. Heathcliff is just a broken man. Now, again, please carefully listen, read chapter 9 or study chapter 9. You have the study guide with you. Everything is there. The quotes that are key quotes in the study guide, these are the quotes that I want you to fully focus on. You have the summary there. You have also the definitions at the end for certain things. And here we have witnessed the first one of the definitions, or the second one. I believe the first one was coxcomb. The second one, اللي هو الfate of Milo. Okay, so I wish you the best of luck, inshallah, and we will meet next week on Sunday or Monday.